Imagine for a moment that you were a walking library. That in your DNA, you carried information, just like we stored data on a memory stick. That you have thousands, billions of genes that are like memory sticks floating around in your body. And you carry the information of all of your ancestors all the way back to the beginning of time. And everyone that they had experience with, their family, their community, their relationships. That all of that experience, good and bad, that all of their successes and all of their failures, all of their joys and all of their sorrows, that all of that information is still stored in your body. That all the skills that they've learned and mastered is in your library. All of that information, just like a book that we can pick off of a shelf and open up and immerse ourselves into, that we can activate all of that information with just a thought. And a belief is just a thought that we keep thinking. Now, let me read to you based on that Anatomy of the Spirit by Caroline Myss. According to energy medicine, we are all living history books. Our bodies contain our histories, every chapter, line and verse of every event and relationship in our lives, as our lives unfold. As an energy healer, as a medium, as a psychic, I read energy. That's where I get the information from, your Akashic records. It's because you carry it in your body. If I tune into you, I'm able to read. If you ask me a specific question and I focus in a particular area, I take that book or that memory stick off of the shelf, plug it in, and all of that information comes up. Okay, so I have lived experience that this makes sense to me. Our biological health becomes a living, breathing biography, a biographical statement that conveys our strengths, our weakness, our hopes, and our fears. Every thought you've had has traveled through your biological system and activated a physiological response. Some thoughts are like depth charges, causing a reaction throughout the body. A fear, for instance, activates every system in our body. Our stomach tightens, our heart rate increases, and you may break into a sweat. A loving thought can relax your entire body. Some thoughts are more subtle, and still others are unconscious. Many are meaningless and pass through the body like wind through a screen, requiring no compass and no conscious attention, and their influence upon your health is minimal. Yet each conscious thought, and many unconscious ones, does generate a physiological response. All thoughts, regardless of their content, may enter our system as energy. Through that, those that carry emotional, mental, psychological, and spiritual energy produces biological responses that are then stored in our cellular memory. In this way, our biographies are woven into our biological system gradually, slowly, every day. The story of a young patient of Norm's is a good example of how this process works. Norm called me for a phone consultation on this patient, a dentist, who was not feeling well in general and was becoming increasingly exhausted. He had an acute pain around the right side of his abdomen, and he was also seriously depressed. Increasingly and continual exhaustion that takes the edge off mental and emotional clarity is an energy symptom that indicates something is wrong with the body. Most people do not consider it a symptom because it is not actual pain. But when exhaustion continues, even when the person is getting more sleep, the body is trying to communicate that the person is energetically ill. Responding to this message at the energy stage can often prevent the development of an illness. Depression is another symptom that all is not well. Within the clinical world, depression is generally considered an emotional and mental disorder, but prolonged depression often precedes the development of a physical illness. In energy terms, depression literally is a release of energy, of life force, if you will, without consciousness. If energy is like money, depression is like opening your wallet and announcing, I don't care who takes my money or how it is spent. Prolonged depression inevitably creates chronic exhaustion. If you don't care who spends your money or how much, inevitably you will end up broke. Just so, without energy, you cannot support your health. As Norm examined his dentist patient, he had the feeling that the man was developing an illness. Because of the man's abdominal pain, Norm ran tests for pancreatic cancer, but they came back negative, so he called me for a consultation. As in our habit, he gave me only the patient's name and age and said nothing about the pain or his own suspicions. In my evaluation, I saw that the right side of the patient's body around the pancreas was generally toxic energy. It was generating toxic energy, I told Norm that this man was burdened by an enormous feeling of responsibility and that it had become a constant source of anguish for him. He felt intensely that he was unable to live as he wanted to, and he dwelled on this feeling almost to the exclusion of any other emotion. Obviously, we all have negative feelings, but not all negativity produces a serious physical illness. To create disease, negativity has to become the dominant emotion, as it did with this young dentist. So, if we carry the information, the data, the trauma, the joy, the success, the failure, all the experience of all of our ancestors and everyone they've been associated with from the beginning of humanity, then it is fair to say that when we have a dominant thought pattern that becomes a belief that activates that negative emotion constantly, we do activate the information in our body, in our library, that is associated with all of that Akashic record, ancestral feelings, experiences that are similar, that are a vibrational match to that emotion. This is why it is so powerful. And thus, the opposite is equally as powerful. This is why we're able to heal ourselves, because if we access the emotion that is the experience, the information, the data that is the exact opposite on the vibrational spectrum of that emotion, and we practice it consistently, we're able to render the other beliefs that have been activated, experiences and emotions, dormant, and it is replaced with something else. You always have the power. Tell me what you think.